Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker, and today I've got a very exciting guest coming on the show. He is 21 in his career with 16 KOs, and that's Steven So-Called Nelson. Steven, appreciate taking time to come on today, man.
So cool. We in here. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about real quickly is that you go by So Cold. You got to give us the backstory behind that. Like, why is that the nickname you chose? How'd you get that?
So they say a real nickname. I mean, a nickname isn't real unless somebody gives it to you. So when I was on the Army boxing team, when I first started boxing, my teammates, we all had the same gear because I was an Army, so they gave us the same gear. So we put our initials on it. So my initials is SCN for Stephen Cole Nelson. So everybody was like, "Who is SCN?" And I was like, "Oh, that's me, that's me." And then one of my teammates was like, "What SCN stand for?" I was like, for my name. And then one of my other teammates said, "It probably stands for So Cold Nelson because he cold at everything he do." So like I've always been known to like have a whole bunch of different skills outside of boxing, all across the board. They call me Mr. Do It All, and not able to do it, but I'm good at everything I do. So they say, "Oh, you so cold."
Well, that's a perfect segment into what I really want to get into about today because you have quite the background around yourself. And obviously people might know you most in this, at least on this podcast, as a boxer. We know what you do in the ring. But what I'm fascinated about is that that's not your only thing you're capable of doing. You're obviously a boxer, yes. You're an artist, comedian, handyman, pilot, barber, mechanic. You're also a veteran. Thank you for your service again for that one. But you just talk about you have this gigantic arsenal within who you are as a person. How did you get into all these different things?
I just always been the type of person that was always believe like if another man can do it, so can I. Like we had the same characteristics. You got 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs. If you can do it, I just got to figure out what you're doing. So people say, "Man, you're talented. You have a lot of talent." So I'm like, no, really, my one talent is being analytical. I know how to analyze stuff and repeat it. So that's one thing. If I'm interested in it, I'm going to figure out and do it. If I don't do it, it's because I don't care to. But anything I put my mind to, I'm going to do.
So when you talk about priority lists, obviously things probably change as you kind of go into life. Like I know I was looking at your Instagram and at one point you're working on that painting you had going on. Then you obviously got called to fight for the Pacheco fight. So I think you kind of switched priorities there. But if you were to pick everything on the table right now is on the line, you could choose what you want to do. What's your favorite thing to go do right now?
Well, boxing is a young man's sport. And boxing is one of the only things I do where it takes every skill I have to accomplish because it's an art at the end of the day. It's physically demanding. You have to have good problem solving skills. And then on top of that, I'm good at marketing myself because I have a good personality and I do stand-up comedy and I also make my own uniforms. So everything works hand in hand. Boxing right now is my number one venture right now, but when I have downtime, I squeeze in other things that I do, because I feel like once boxing over, I can focus on those things that will always be a part of me, which is, the art side of me.
Okay. Now you just said that you also work on making your own clothing, your own equipment too there. So were those shorts you created, the Tupac one, was that all designed by you and made by you then?
Every single uniform besides my first uniform, I made myself. I designed Bud Terrence Crawford uniforms, and I've designed other people, but I don't really focus on other people right now because I got so many things going on. So people ask, "Hey, make me some short." I'm like, "Nah, I'll do that once I retire. I'll get into that."
Okay,
but that's what provoked me to start making my own uniforms. It was my first uniform. I paid a guy to do it, and he gave me a runaround for I knew I was going to pro for like 3-4 months, and he gave me the runaround. And I said, from now on, I'm not dealing with that no more. I'm gonna do my own. So I went and took apart some old shorts I had and used that as stencils and stuff like that. Because in high school, I graduated early, so the the last semester of my school, I just needed 2 credits, and the rest of the day I just had a whole bunch of electives. So I took
Okay.
courses. At the time, I was like, "Man, I'm gonna take the course where all the girls is at." I did like a football class. I did a sewing class. I was doing stuff like that, and they taught us how to use the sewing machine. We made pillows and stuff like that. So I had a little background already with knowing how to use a sewing machine. And
Mm.
then when I was pro, I innovated that to make my own uniforms.
So we got to go into the Tupac then a little bit more because that one is now probably going to go down as one of the most significant, most iconic kits anyone's ever worn. Because you had the outfit coming into the show when you walked into the locker room, then you come out and then you're wearing the whole outfit, and that was probably going to be. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever going to forget that one. So you got to just take
Yeah,
us through what
I got
inspired
some.
you for that.
Yeah, I got some dope uniforms that I've done, and I got some more that I'm going to do that I
Okay.
feel like I'm saving. I'm like, it's going the
Hmm.
right time.
All right. All right.
I'm very artistic. But that came about because every fight, I always make my uniforms with what's even going on in my life or what resonates with that fight at the time or
Okay.
the date. Like I came out one time or I fought during Christmas time, came out as a Grinch,
Hmm.
So I do things like that. But at this time in my life, I was going through legal battles and a lot of the media was like slandering my name and people were like this didn't know the whole story, and it was just I felt like Tupac when
Okay.
if you go back and you watch when Tupac, it's a video on YouTube where Tupac got to jail and everybody was trying to interview him and he was spitting on all the cameras. He had that on.
Hmm.
He had the hockey jersey and the do rag and stuff.
Yeah.
So I emulated that, and I was like, how can I make my shorts like super like dope that would make people be like that's Tupac. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my waistband look like boxers, so I'm sagging. It just came together, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, at first I was like, man, people gonna be like, what the hell is this? Is stupid, but it turned out, and people loved it.
Is that your favorite one that you've done so far?
I think that was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be because my favorite movie growing up was The Last Dragon.
Hmm.
So I came out as the villain, which is shown enough. One time I had the hair, the wig, the whole uniform, the whole giddy
Yeah.
up. A lot of people don't know it, but that's my personal favorite. And
Okay.
then behind that one, it would probably be when they wheeled me out on a dolly, and I was
Yeah.
Hannibal. That was my second, and then the Tupac one for sure because this the effect that it gave to everybody.
So I just want
And
to get into your mind a little bit more there because that's just not something that somebody just comes up with overnight. Maybe it is for yourself, but was that something you kind of spent time saying, all right, I want to think through what exactly works for me, or did that just pop in your mind one day and you made it happen, or how does it just come
no,
to fruition?
like I said, I've always been a creative person, so when
Okay.
things pop in my head, you know, to me it's just normal. But other people are like, man, that's super creative. I'm like, it's nothing, like, because that's
Okay.
just part of being creative and not thinking too deep into it. Just put out what I feel, and I feel
Okay.
like if you do that, you can never go wrong because even if people don't like it, it'll still be meaningful to me.
Yep. Now, when you talk about the future ones, I know you just said that there's going to be some things that you're working on. Is there any hints you could give us? Is there something that's kind of inspiring you that you'd like to possibly show out in the future with?
I just got like some creative uniforms that people gonna be like, when I walk out, they're gonna be like, "What?" Oh, and it's gonna hit them, like, cause
All
like
right.
I'm very big on like characters that inspire me growing up or
Okay.
people inspire me. So it'd be something like that. And if I give it away now, people are seeing, but oh, I know what to do. But
Fair
when
enough.
it happens, people are like, "Oh, okay, I see what you did." Like it's gonna be dope. But I'm like saving it for the perfect times and stuff like that because everything has a time for it.
Mhm.
I have a whole list, like all the ideas I have when it comes to like uniforms and like I want to add movie ideas, comedy skits I do online, music I want to make. I always write it down in notes on my phone. So I have
Mm.
a whole list of notes of uniforms that I couldn't even possibly use all of them unless I go 80 and 0. I'm like 80 fights or something like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Even when I'm done fighting, I'll be able to pass these down to people.
Good
good
point.
ideas.
Fair enough. So I did also want to ask you about this too, because we kind of talk about all the different areas of life that you've been a part of. And something that's unique about you is that you said a quote leading up to Diego Pacheco fight. And you said this: I'm 36 from Omaha, Nebraska. Been through hell to get here. I mean, hell, not just in boxing, military streets, been shot, been blown up, injuries, been through everything. When you think about that statement, and then we also talk about everything you've been able to accomplish in your life, how successful you've been inside of boxing, outside of boxing, walk us through the mentality. How has all those obstacles you've gone through in life made you and helped you kind of grow into the person that you are today?
So how I can put it is, okay, here we go. Say if you go to a gym to lift
Mm-hmm.
weights and you walk in, there's 400 pounds on the bench press machine. You like the first day, you never lift weight.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there, you try to lift it, it's gonna fall on your chest. You might kill yourself.
Yeah.
But if you go in the gym and I say here, start with 150, and we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
work up every week. I'm gonna add more and more to it till we get to that 300, 400 pounds. That's how I look at life obstacles. I've been
Mm-hmm.
through so much, and I used to be like, man, why me? I got bad luck. Why? But I feel like I'm going through all this stuff because it's building me up to
Mm-hmm.
be, you know, who God has planned for me,
Yep.
as a leader or whatever. Right now, I don't know. I'm just walking my path.
Yep.
But when that time come, I'll be ready for it because I done experienced so much stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's been stuff when I was 18, 19, I was going through, and I thought it was the end of the world.
Yep.
Like why? But now I look back at them same issues. I'm like, that's easy. I
Okay.
gotta. That's nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the same thing. In 10 years from now, the problem we're going through now, I'm like, oh, I've been through that before, or something similar to that. I
Mm-hmm.
got it. I'll take care of it.
Was that a mentality that was established pretty early on yourself, or when did you start realizing this kind of mentality? 'Cause I'm sure those tough times when you're younger at some point. So when did you start clicking and said, you know what, this is something that God's giving me on my plate right now. It's tough. I'm gonna get through. It's gonna make me better though.
When I finally was like, no, this everything is for a reason. I've always seen stuff and like always made it through. But one time, the one time it really clicked is
Mm-hmm.
when I went through my first injury when I tore my Achilles back in 2021,
Okay.
and I went through that time. And I say, you know what, man, I've been through so much stuff. Instead of sitting here and being sad and doubting my career and everything, I'm gonna spend this time and I'm going to stay as happy and I'm gonna figure out why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up, being a pilot. I started training to be a pilot. I'll start working on my stand up comedy, and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? Every time I go through something, it always leads me in a new path. It always pivots me, or I meet new people, or
Mm-hmm.
I gain new access to new things.
Yeah.
So I say, you know what, everything I go through, I'm not gonna let it kill me. I may be frustrated at the time going through it, but I know that I'm gonna see light eventually.
Now, for you having the amount of stuff you've been taking part of, like you said, you're a pilot. You've been able to do all these different components to life. Some people might say, well, I don't even have enough time to do my own job right now. Time management is a problem in this world, at least in America specifically. And yet you've clearly figured that portion out. So how have you been able to manage your time? Take us through that, where you're able to balance your life and have so many different parts of your life to have really a full life.
Now, this is one thing I learned when I was young,
Mm,
going into the military. I had a lot of friends, a lot of family, and people who were so quick. They call it chasing the bag. They were so quick to get to making money, and what I hear can make me money, but they really didn't love what it was. It wasn't nothing they really loved. But I've
mm,
always focused on, if I'm gonna choose to do something, it's gonna be something that even if I'm not getting paid for it, I would love it. I would
mm,
do it. So I comprise my life. People say, "What do you do for fun?" I'm like, I just live my life because everything I do, I enjoy it. I love it. I get to go work with the kids every day. I get to go box. I get to make my own schedule every day. I don't have to get up and answer to a boss or be here at a certain time. I do what I want, not because I'm a successful boxer, but I've always been like that. I've always wanted to wake up every day and make my
okay.
day go how I want it to go. So when I get up, I have time to, you know what, today I don't want to go do this. I want to go back here and paint. I want to go work on this painting. I can do that.
Okay.
Where everybody else was partying, having fun, enjoying life and making money, I was perfecting me. I
Mhm.
was gaining these skills. I was making it so now I can live my life free while everybody else got to answer to working.
You also said before that boxing was you started boxing at 21, but you started boxing as in a way to fund what you really want to do, kind of what you just were talking about right there. Is that really the reason? Is that what you said? Okay, boxing is gonna be able to make me money right now. Is that what you ended up pursuing boxing for at the time?
Yeah, when I was 21, I started boxing in the military. It was just to stay in shape, to do something
Okay.
fun. I was going to stay in shape because I got tired of the same army workout, push ups, sit ups, run,
Yeah.
basic working out. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna start boxing because that's gonna keep me in shape. And then my commander told us if we do any extracurricular things, we don't have to do the regular PT,
Mm.
physical training. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna start boxing. So when I started boxing, just like everything else I do in life, I catch on quick. And people around me was like, man, you good, man. You can really make some of this. And I was like, all right. And I just kept on going down the path. And within a year, I was on the top level competing in the amateurs.
Yep.
Went to the Olympic reload trials and got silver with only 6 fights.
Hmm.
So then I was like, you know what? I can use this boxing to really fund the things I want to do in life, which my dream has always been be a serial entrepreneur with everything that I'm good at and love to do. I would love to have different shops that I can go to every day. And I don't run them myself, but I can go be a part of those whatever one I want to for that day.
That's crazy too because when you talk about not starting boxing until you're 21 years old, this is a sport where you got a lot of guys that have been starting when they're little kids, just going around getting footwork done, hitting mitts, whatever it might be. You start at 21 years old and that you're 20 and 1 in your career, 16 KOs, you've had massive fights, you just got done being a part of a main event. Was
Mm.
that ever something that you thought could be a reality when you were 21, 22, 23?
Once I hit that trigger at like 22, I was like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this. I knew that it will come. I didn't know how long it would take, because it's taken a long time, and I
Sure.
still have some to go. I still have, more things to gain out of this sport. Because people are like, are you done? No, I'm not even close to it. No, I'm not done yet. So that's when I hit that trigger and was like, you know what, I can be something. And then on top of that, growing up with Bud,
Hmm.
you know, and seeing his growth and being part of his story from the jump, like he was a blueprint. And I seen that, okay, what you can get to, even being from Omaha, Nebraska, where we don't have,
Yep.
as much support as being from Cali or Texas or Florida.
And that's actually exactly what I want to talk about next is because boxing is not a massive thing out there in Nebraska. Now, obviously, Bud and you guys have put this all on the map. Now we know about that stuff. But if we go
Yeah.
back, I mean, it's not like a historical place. This is not a historical boxing state at all. And now it's all of a sudden been put on the map by you guys. How did
Right.
this all come to be?
And I think being from where we're from, it makes us work harder because
Mm,
um being from Omaha, growing up, I used to watch movies or watch shows, and you always picture guys from Texas and New York and
yeah.
Florida, these big states, as so much better than you. But then when I went to the military and I started to mingle with these different people from all over the world, I start to realize, like, from my childhood of working so hard and doing things and competing on different levels and stuff,
Hmm.
um, it made me better than my counterparts from all over the world.
Mm,
They just had bigger opportunity. They had better opportunities because of where they were from.
yeah.
Like I didn't play sports growing up. I played sports like pickup games and
Sure.
know, football. We used to call it killer man, where you get the
Okay.
ball, first person make it to the end zone, score. I did stuff like that, but I never played any organized sports because you know my parenting dynamics weren't normal. I never met my dad. My mom had trouble
Okay.
with me, so I was passed around. So I didn't do any organized sports, but
Mhm.
I was more so athletic and wanted to be athletic. But my biggest thing was I wanted to be robotic engineer. That was my dream. I wanted to
Okay.
be robots growing up.
Okay. So is that something you still see in your future then? Now, obviously, like you said, you still got a lot of boxing stuff to do. That's something you probably have to be a little bit more committed to. Is that something you want to heavily pursue then when you're done boxing?
Yeah, of course. I feel like when I would really get into it is like mentoring younger kids and
Okay.
doing it with them. You know,
Okay.
doing things like that with them because I'm technically, inclined to do it. I know about electricity and I know how to, I know how to build. I'm a carpenter. I know how to do all that stuff. I just have to get the actual, schooling with it or training
Hmm.
for it. And I feel I can be successful with it.
All right, so going back to the boxing aspect, and then we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you start off at 21 years old, and like I said, so many people have just this fundamental skill that they develop from the time they're going up to the amateurs when they're younger, and so on and so forth. And when you talk about having to make up that time in a way, obviously these other guys have so many years of head start on you. How were you able to do that? What made you be able to develop at such a rapid speed where you have now had a more successful career than even so many guys that have been doing this for so long?
Yeah. You just break like I'm good at just breaking things down, making
Hmm.
things simple. I tell kids I train, 'cause I'm a coach too, that boxing is a bunch of simple things added up to make it complex.
Yeah.
So you just break it down to the simple things. We're gonna work on movement today. Look at where your feet is placed. Look at how far you're stepping. Look which way you're stepping. Okay, now let's add the jab to it. Now let's throw the jab right. Let's turn over.
Hmm.
Just keep adding. It's a whole bunch of simple things that you add together to make it complex.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me be able to move forward, not only with boxing, but anything I pick up, because you just break it down to its core. You break it down and symbolize it. Simple.
And we'll get more into the Diego Pacheco fight here in a little bit, but just using this as an example, when you were in that fight, you obviously showed great heart. And that was something that I think everybody noticed. You were quite the warrior. A lot of people said, hey, you didn't go down. You kept going. You kept going after him. You kept making a competitive fight all the way into the 12th, through the 12th round. When you
Yeah.
just see that mentality about yourself, where it's clear, like we see it obviously in life and the way you've been successful in all these avenues, but then you look at it when you go in that ring, you don't back down. That's something that you will go after somebody. You're never going to step down. You're never going to back up. You're never going to give up. How did that mentality come to be?
That comes to like I said in the pre-fight interviews and stuff. Like I've been through this, I've been through that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like no man is going to be too much for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I'll rather lose because you just outbox me.
Yeah.
You're more skillful than me, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to back down because the stuff I've been through 10 times as much as what a man can do to me.
Hmm.
I mean, I can make an excuse and say, "Oh man, I was cut," and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna fold. I'm not gonna fold. You know.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to go back into what you were talking about with Bud a little bit because you two obviously have a great relationship, a great bond. You guys are always supporting each other. It's really honestly a great respect to see how you guys work out with each other and do what you guys have built together now. So I got to ask, I know you mentioned a little bit ago that you guys kind of grew up together. When did you guys first meet each other? When did you guys first start building this relationship?
I think the first time I can't pinpoint the age because it
Okay.
was one of the things where in like Omaha, I know it was around like 10, 11, 10 or
Hmm.
11. But Omaha, you hear certain names and you see certain people around, but you don't really get intertwined with them. And
Okay.
first time I had an encounter with Bud was we was at the park, like the local park that like everybody hang out at in our neighborhood.
Hmm.
It was Coons Park. And they was talking about Bud, and I actually seen him, and he was going around just like, talking to people, messing with certain people. And he came up to me, he was like, he said, "Oh, I know you. You wasn't him cousin." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I heard you a boxer." And then he was like, "Yeah, you want me to show you something real quick?" And he had hit me in my arm, and like all in my arm, and my arm just went numb. I was like, "What the hell?" Like, and then he used to always. So that was the first encounter I had with him. But then he used to always come down to the park after training, and he would bring like bags of gloves and stuff, and we'll all be down there, and he'd be like, "Hey y'all, who want to spar? Who want to fight?" Not him, but each other.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody knew I'm not gonna fight Bud. Like he's a boxer. So he had us down there like going at it. And I used to always be like, shoot, I'm with it. Like, who? Who gonna step up? Like, I'm gonna fight whoever. So we be out there at the park, throwing
Mhm.
hands. Let's call it throwing hands, sparring each other at the park. No headgear, mouthpiece, nothing. Just straight up.
So when
And
did you
then
guys really start to connect and become like tight then?
as teenagers,
Okay.
he grew up in my area and we was running the streets. And I ain't gonna lie, we were out, gang members and running the streets and going to parties and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And his people was my people, so we always be around each other. Then I went to the military. I kept in contact. We hit him up every blue moon. Hey man, I heard you got a fight coming up and stuff. Check on him and stuff like that. But when I started boxing, he was the first person I called. Like, Bud, hey, I'm boxing now. He like, oh, for real? He said, that's what's up. That's what's up. It's good. You know what I mean? And he'd tell you straight. He was like, oh, okay, cool, cool.
Mhm.
Everybody said they box. So I'm like, no, hey, when I come home, man, I'm beating everybody, but I want to spar you. He like, nah, dude, it's a whole different level, man. I'm on a whole different level. He had been pro. He went pro in 2008. This
Mhm.
was 2010 going to 2011. It was close to 2011.
Mhm.
I went home. I went home winter of 2010 when I first started boxing, and I was like, I want to spar. He's like, all right, okay, keep on begging me. All right, come on. I go over there, I spar him, and he was in there. You could tell he's there. Just messing around me, going light. I'm in there
Mhm.
like trying to get him. I'm like, man, you too small. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm trying to knock him out. And he just did one little move, boom, touched me to the body. And I was like, ooh, I felt it. Start moving around the ring, and then he started walking me down. I'm like, boom, boom. He didn't hit me in the face at all. He was touching my body. And I took a knee. And from that point, that ignited something in me. When I went back to I was staying in North Carolina. I was in the Army. I
Mhm.
went back and I knew, like I said, I analyzed things. Like I'm like, you know what? I need to get to where he at. I
Mm.
need to get to that. That's where I want to be at. And I went back and I focused on, becoming a better boxer for it's probably like 6 months. I went home that summer of 2011 and I went back and I sparred him and he like, man, you a whole different fighter, dude. Dang, okay. I see you, man. Keep working. And that's when he
Mhm.
started believing me. And
Okay.
that's when we really got locked in.
Now, what's special about that is that you guys truly have a true, genuine, authentic relationship there. And now it's obviously been able to come to fruition and help you guys both down your careers because, from your standpoint, you get to learn from one, if not the best guy this entire generation now. You get to learn from him day in, day out, kind of work on your craft. I mean, that's not a better sparring partner you can pretty much get out there than Bud Crawford. And at the same time, he gets another guy that's a 20-1 overall guy in his career. How has that just helped each other, kind of iron sharpens iron in a sense, with each other throughout your guys' career now?
It definitely helped us, because people see his career, and boxing. It says it's a one man sport, but it's a team behind the closed door, and a
Exactly.
lot of
Yep.
the big accomplishments I have. We've pushed each other, and sometimes it's a good thing. But even when it's a bad thing, it's really a good thing. But it sucks sometimes because people from our city who don't really know boxing and don't know how amazing he is and how much on high on the totem pole I am too, they
Mhm.
expect me
Mm.
to do as much as he's done, and he's been
Gotcha.
doing it his whole life. You know what I mean? And don't realize okay, Steve only been doing it since he was 21. So they
Yeah.
expect so much from me, but it keeps me on my toes because people expect so much from me,
Mhm.
in comparison to, but
There's also something that you guys have done that I think is really awesome. It's admirable to say the least, and that's you and Bud also created the B&B Sports Academy, and you kind of alluded to this a few different times where you're training different people. And I know you posted different videos about that as well. It could be different kids, it could be older people, it could be whatever it is. You're out there training is helping giving back. Walk
yeah.
us through what you guys why'd you guys start this? Why is this something that kind of was placed on your guys' heart and you guys want to go invest in this?
So the original founders is Bud and Bomac, but I've
Mhm.
always been around to help and and give my knowledge and work. And now I'm the executive director of B&B. But one thing, growing up in North Omaha, which is like the hood of our
Mhm.
city, people
Okay.
are like Omaha got a hood. Like, yeah, it's crazy. From there. So it's a poverty stricken area. So when we growing up, you got to think about it. We didn't have too many stars that came out of here that's in our neighborhood. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So people we looked up to that had the nice cars, the flashy clothes, had all the girls, they were all doing negative things. They were selling drugs and gang banging and stuff like that. So as a kid, you get amused by the flashiness and the cars and the women. So you're gonna do what they're doing to get that. So a
Mhm.
lot of kids in our neighborhood did that and followed that road because even us, even me and Bud, but we was one who slipped through the cracks and made it out.
Mm.
Uh, we we were amused by those things, just what's around you. But now the kids see, oh, Bud and Steven, they got nice cars, they got money, they got girl, they got this, whatever they're like want to see and they want to be like. Now they have something positive to look up to.
Mm. And how does that feel? Because it's got to be pretty cool to realize that you guys have now been able to kind of create a new identity, a new outlet for these different guys growing up out there. What does it mean to now kind of be that influence, that role model in your back home where you're from?
A lot of times you're like living in the moment, so it don't really hit you.
Sure.
But sometimes I sit back and I'm at home like, dang, like I'm a leader.
Mhm.
Like I'm not. I like growing up. I didn't see myself as a 36-year-old man. I like I always thought that it would be over before 30 because that's as far as I can picture. I picture
Mhm.
myself in 20s, but I never picture myself being a 36-year-old man that's a leader in our community. So sometimes it amazes me, like, dang, like
Yeah.
I'm doing. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta do it because it's a whole list of things that I want to do. What I want to show people that it's possible to do from
Mhm.
Omaha. Boxing is just one portion of it.
Yep.
It's only one part of it.
Mhm. You also alluded to Bomac, who is one of the best trainers in all of boxing right now, and what he's done is incredible. How did you guys get to know each other?
Through Bud,
Okay.
like growing up, like you knew of these, like you heard of these names, but when I really got like tied in with Bomac is to Bud.
Okay.
Bud
And
was
this.
connected to Bomac and Red and Saul,
Okay.
but me and Bud always had that connection since we were kids.
So what makes Bomac so special? Because the fighters he's been able to coach, the people underneath him, the obvious success is evident there. It's very, very successful what he's been able to accomplish. What makes him so good? What about Bomac makes his fighters become better and become the versions of the fighters that they are?
One thing about Bomac and our team, where I said it's 10 parts, it's ten parts, moving parts to make this team.
Mm,
And what I like about Bomac is he's open to listening.
mm,
He's open to other ideas. He's open to learn from even his fighters. He's open to these things. And most coaches like, oh, it's my way or that way, or you out.
yeah.
We have a team where we all, add to and we all make it, you know,
Hmm.
a a, a triple headed monster, to say.
Hmm.
So why wouldn't you have success if you got, so many different moving parts that's adding to this, and we're all open of, no, that don't work, or no, let's not do that. Let's stick with this.
All right, so you do have to give me your favorite Bomac story from all your time with him so far. Is there one moment that just kind of comes out to the top of their mind that you just think of and you say, that's the moment, that's my favorite moment, whether it be the funniest, the favorite, whatever it is? What would that moment be with Bomac?
When I first met Bomac, I first met
All
Bomac,
right.
and we were in training camp in Colorado, and well, I ain't gonna say it wasn't the first time I met him. It was the first time that I was, you know, with him around the clock. We were in training
Sure.
camp in Colorado, like when I first moved there, like 2012, and like, I do so much stuff, and he kept on asking me, "Hey man, I heard you cut hair, man. I need a haircut. I need a haircut. I need a haircut." And he used to ask me, "Oh, I got you. I got you." But like, I'm the type of person where I sit back and watch the crowd and stuff like that, and I kind of like be looking off, and he kept on saying, "Hey man, like give me a cut, man. I got you. I got you." He finally got in a chair. I gave him a cut after like a week or so of asking, and he was like, "Man, you don't like me, do you?" I was like, "Oh, why you say that?" He said, "Because man, I've been asking you for days, and you'd be looking at me, and you never would like ever had a conversation with me, man. You don't like me, do you?" I'm like, "No, bro. Like I just got so much stuff going on.
Mhm.
It just kept blowing off. My fault, man." He's like, "All right, man. Don't mess my haircut up, man. Like I don't think you like me." He thought I didn't like him at first because the interaction. I kept blowing him off for the haircut.
That's
That's
hilarious.
that's the most memorable moment I have with Bo Mac. Like, oh, it's a whole bunch. I know I'll probably get out this interview and be like, "Dang, I should have told him about that." But that's the one that pops into my mind every time.
All right, man. Well, I want to get into also your fighting career, both most recent fight and then also the what you got in store for the future now. And so let's recap the Diego Pacheco fight real quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, go
Hey,
through
real
that.
quick,
Yeah,
can I grab my charger real quick in here
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
That's totally fine. That's totally cool.
real,
Yeah, no problem.
real quick. Like 30 seconds.
No worries, man.
I keep on looking at this.
Yeah, no worries.
It's going down and down. Like, hold on, it's red now.
Yeah, no worries, man.
I don't want to come off on you. All right, we
Yeah,
good
no,
now. We
perfect.
charge. Okay.
Perfect. Let's get right back to it. So I do want to get into some of your most recent fight, obviously against Diego Pacheco, who was probably your most talented opposition you faced so far. It gave you your first loss. Can you break down that fight a little bit, though? I know we touched upon it a little bit, but just kind of take us through your thoughts on the fight now as you've had a little bit to reflect on it.
Um, Going into that fight, I was at a point. I think last November, I was like, man, I'm not getting the opportunities that I feel like I deserve. You see your counterparts who you're more talented, dude, getting pushed up, and like, dang, like, why? When I'm gonna get my chance?
Yeah.
So then I was like, man, um, God, this ain't if it's meant for me to move on, like, let's move on. And then I had that whole week I had started painting this picture. I went going to the gym. I was like, man, it's like it's gonna be over.
Really?
And prior to that, I had been online. I be seeing like the rankings and stuff like that, and I see everybody's rank. They're all like the next class behind me. I'm like, dang, like I'm ranked number 15, but now I was ranked 15 before I got injured. Now this new 15 is a whole different class of people, but I'm up here. I'm like, man, I need to get those spots. So I happened to see Pacheco being tagged on Matchroom saying, "Who's next for Pacheco?" And they had a whole list of people. I'm like, man, I said, they need to stop putting you in there with people that they know you can beat and put you in there with somebody like me. And
Hmm.
he responded and was like, he said, let's make it happen. I said, all right, I'm gonna have my people hit your people up. And I had our lawyer because I don't have a
Yeah.
manager or promoter. We've got a lawyer. Hit up Matchroom, and they were going back and forth. And a week prior, he told me, he said, "No, man, they're gonna go with McCumbee or something like that. They're not trying to go with you." He said no. So I'm like, damn. So that's when I gave up. Like, man, you know what, man? I'm like, every time I go, God, I leave in your hands. So I was painting, and one day I was painting. It was a Friday, and my
Hmm.
phone was vibrating. And I happened to look down. Usually I just ignore it. Happened to look down, and I see my lawyer name. I was like, "What the hell he calling for?" I said, I know he calling for something. He never called me." I answered. He like, "Hey, Steve, we got it. We got the fight." I'm like, "Oh man!" I got up right there and went to the gym and started training. It was 9 weeks out. Nine
Hmm.
weeks out from the fight. I was like, man, we gonna take it. I said, man, like I had all odds against me, but that wasn't my concern
Yeah.
because I knew that winning is what, of course, that's what I wanted to do. But I know even if I have a good showing, it's
Yep.
gonna speak a lot. It's gonna put me on the map because I'm against all odds. I'm not managed. I'm not promoted by Matchroom. He's a favorite. He's number one across the board. In all the sanctioning bodies. He's younger. He's tall. Oh, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna do what I do, man. Don't matter none of that. So I say I had all odds against me, but that wasn't. It didn't matter to me.
I like that you said that too, because I think when you talk about what you did in that performance, like you said, yes, you didn't get the win, but ultimately, yes, it's a loss on your resume, but you can obviously learn from those things to get better. But like you said, the biggest thing that you went out there, you still made a statement. You still took people still look at you. You're a warrior. You fought through it, and you had a good
felt
showing.
like the first Rocky. I felt like the first Rocky movie when he lost to Apollo Creed, but everybody was showing him love. That's how I felt after the fight. Because people was like, people I didn't know. Like, I expected my city and my family to be like, man, you did a good job. But like for people who didn't know me, was hitting me up and they all saying the same thing. Like, you a warrior, man, you nice, man. They need to give you more opportunities. I was like, I'm glad I made a point out there, and going into the fight, the first couple rounds, first 4 rounds, I felt good, doing my thing. I'm moving, and I'm boxing in and out. It was hard for him to land a jab, but then he threw a right hand, and it wasn't hard. It just happened to caught me right on my eye, and it split, and I felt the blood come down immediately, and people don't understand when you're in the ring and that blood getting your eye. Under the eye is different, but above the eye and the blood in your eye is like you got a film in your eye. You can't see and it's burning, and every time you blink, it turns black and orange. I'm like, man, I went from trying to win to just not run into nothing stupid. I knew he was a sharpshooter. I said, you know what? I don't want to run into no stupid shot and get knocked out in front of everybody. So it went from that. It went from being successful to that, and then I lost track of rounds. And by the time it got the 10th round, somebody in my corner said, "Hey man, we got 2 more rounds. Come on, you got to turn up." I'm like, "Wait, what? 2 rounds?" And that's where I went out there. It was like, man, I'm gonna leave him in the ring. I don't care. I'm gonna leave the ring. Either he gonna sit here and fight me. He gonna back down. He gonna get stopped. Something. But I'm not about to just go out here and just let him just cruise to a victory.
So because of that performance you had, it now sets you up to be in a position where, like you said, you should be able to get another decent-sized fight in the upcoming future, whether it be in whenever that fight is next for yourself. So what do you want? I know we've been seeing some Edgar Berlanga talk going back and forth with you guys on social media. I know you also called out Jake Paul a few months ago, but where are you sitting right now? Like, what's the fight you want right now?
The Jake Paul thing, like, I don't expect to get that because he ain't trying to fight nobody real. Even with Edgar, like, I've been calling Edgar for years because we had differences back. He was cool, but he had said some slick stuff, and ever since then I've been on his neck. And he make every excuse why he ain't gonna fight me. Oh, you ain't nobody. Make all the excuses instead of just fighting. So it's, man, I want to, I want a top fight. Hopefully I get on the Bud undercard and Canelo if he's successful in May. In September, I'll be on that card, and I'm open to fight, any top opposition, because like I feel like I'm up there at the top, man, and we gotta, this is a sport, and I get tired of the picks and stuff like that. People want to pick who they want to fight and everything.
So is that the next day you kind of looking at right now? Like, you think it's gonna be September the next time you return?
Yep.
And
that's what I'm looking at.
And so I know also, like you said there, you want a top fight. Is that pretty much all you're really going for right now? Like, are you just saying, I want a guy that's ranked, I want to make sure it's that type of shot, I don't just want to stay active, I want that fight because that's what I deserve?
Yeah, exactly. I'm 36, about to turn 37. Like, what else? What else is there for me? It's no more getting built up and getting experience. Like, let's make these fights happen. And no, I'm not trying to cash out and get the big fights and stuff like that, because I got 100 other things I can do to make great money. Make amazing money, probably more than boxing. But boxing is just a thing I fell in love with at 21, and I was trying to chase that because it's a young man sport, get that out the way, and then I can move on with my life. Like, even if I quit boxing tomorrow, you know what I mean, I wanna leave something behind and not just try to take something. I'm not trying to cash out. I just want to leave a legacy behind. Somebody like, man, that guy Steven Nelson, he was a good fighter. I want to leave with something.
So if you could pick one fighter that you would want to have make happen for September, what would that fight be?
Edgar Berlanga, dog. Yeah, I mean him. I heard that Trevor McCumbee is fighting
Pacheco.
Pacheco, so
Mm-hmm.
he probably out of it. So I mean, really, like I said, like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I got a problem with anybody. I don't know these dudes personally, so
Fair.
I don't fake no beef. I don't fake no beef. So it's all about who's ever in that top. That'd be a good fight. People would be like, you know what, that's a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's the same type of record I got. Or even better. You know what I mean? But I don't want to be a gatekeeper. Oh, fight this guy. He's an upcoming guy, 16 or 20 and old. Like, nah, like give me some guys who, what I mean, that's on the same platform as me.
Mm-hmm. So then I have to ask you this, since we're on the topic of Canelo, Bud Crawford card, most likely going to happen in September. When you break down that fight, no Bud's your guy. How do you see that fight going? What's the key to victory for Bud? Like, what's your way too early prediction, I should say, on that fight?
Um, People do the same thing they did with Bud with Errol Spence. He too guy. He too small. He too
Yeah.
small. He only outpower. But man, Buzz is just a different. Like I have to give it to him. Bud is a different animal. People think I'm being biased because of our relationship, but I had a lot of people that I'm friends with, including boxing. I can just be honest with. They don't have it like that. Like Bud's just one of the ones where he's just special when it comes to that. Like he can dish, he can take, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he is strong, he's strong for his size, and he's smart and he's skilled.
Agree.
And so I feel like in the Canelo fight, it's gonna the rounds that's gonna really make the difference is everything after six.
Okay.
After
Definitely.
six, those gonna be the rounds that's gonna make the difference for both of them. So it's all about who put their game plan together. And this is unbiasedly speaking, not saying what Bud's gonna do or Canelo gonna do. It's all
Mhm.
about who got the best game plan after six. Because you know, both of them, the first 6 rounds are going to be competitive, but after that, it's all about who's going to, you know, close out that second half.
Absolutely, man. Well, Steven, I got one final question for you. I was like wrapping up each interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. One day down the road, you're going to end up retiring, you step away from boxing. What do you want your legacy to be?
Man, that dude can do anything he wanted to do.
All right.
That dude is good at whatever he wanted to do. And that's my biggest.
Absolutely.
I want to inspire as many people they can do the same thing, man. Sometimes you got to just be patient and just break and make everything simple. Whether
Mhm.
it's cooking, whether it's cleaning, whether it's a sport, whether it's an art, whether it's some type of engineer, just break everything down to its most simplest form and build from there. And
Absolutely.
that's the key.
Absolutely, man. Well, Steven, I appreciate taking time to come on today, man. It was a blessing having you on here. I can't wait to see what God's got next for you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Yes, man. Great questions. Great questions.
Appreciate it, man. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Yes, yes. Same to you.
Appreciate everybody for tuning into that interview. As I said, Justin will be on in just a few moments now. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get right to that shortly. Appreciate you all for tuning in. See you guys shortly. going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach Shoemaker. And joining me now is the number 14 ranked man on the WBO, number 15 by the WBC. He's 18-2 with 9 KOs, Justin Pauldo. Justin, appreciate taking time to come on today, man.
Be on.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things I want to get into today, but the very first question I got for you is that you go by the $1 Million Man. Can you take us through that nickname? How'd that come to be?
That was just a nickname that we came up with, being that the dream is to make a lot of money in the sport of boxing and just to inspire millions of kids around the world. So we just took it from there, and started calling myself the $1 Million Man.
All right, so what got you into boxing, though? We go all the way back. What was the reason you started boxing?
Well, I never even had a choice. My dad put me in it.
All right.
Since I was young as I can remember, I was boxing. I had my first amateur fight at 8, and boxing has been my whole life.
When would you say was the point that it started to really click for you and said, this is not just what my dad's made me do, but this is what I want to do with my life. This is something I got talent in, and I also love it now.
Well, after I was about 17 years old, I had about a 2 or 3 year layoff. And I came back. I chose the sport for myself. I turned pro, and I fell in love with it all over again. And I knew it was something that I could do, that I could make a living out of.
So I want to ask you then, why'd you take that break?
I was just getting caught up in a lot of trouble and things and being unfocused. And at that time, I never really liked the boxing as a kid. It wasn't fun to me because I was felt like I was forced to do it.
Fair.
But once I was able to choose it for myself, and I knew I really did love the sport.
All right, so what was it during that layoff and that you started saying, I feel like boxing is actually what I love now. I feel like this is going to become that thing that I want to pursue.
Yeah. Well, I knew that was be a way to get me back focused and get me on the right track and get me out of doing all the wrong things that I was doing in that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the choice to get back in the gym, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
So when you started going through that process then and you look at where you are today, was that what you expected? Did you expect to see yourself as a guy that's going to be ranked in the top 15, a guy that's going to fight big fights, be on a co-main event type of cards? Is that what you expected when you kind of officially committed to the sport, or when did that start clicking for you?
Well, absolutely. That was the dream from day one. I always knew I had the talent. But the main thing is just with me just being focused and keeping my mind 100% on boxing. But this is being in top 15. That's just the tip of the iceberg for me.
Yeah.
I got world championship potential, and I know I can be a world champion in the sport, and I can do great things. So this is just the beginning.
Well, you had a most recent fight, February 8th, one of the biggest knockouts of the year, most likely. It's one of the biggest already. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year, but it's going to be up there certainly as one of the KOs of the year. And that fight, the KO was great, but the performance all around was spectacular in my opinion. You talk about you getting the knockdown earlier on. You go through the entire fight. It was probably, in my opinion, was your best performance of what I've seen. Would you say it's an accurate statement against Shavkat? Was that your best performance you've had to date?
Well, I think absolutely it was because fighting a guy with so much experience and a guy who had been world champion,
Yep.
it was very motivating for me to be able to settle in with him, and it brought something out of me, I guess, that night. And I just remained focused through the fight. I came in the fight with a great game plan, and I followed it to a T. And
Yeah.
everything played out how I figured it would.
Can you break this down a little bit more for us? Because when you talk about combat sport, when it's all on yourself, it's not a team, you're all by yourself, the pressure's on yourself, and you get an opportunity like this to go face a guy that was a former world champion, a guy that has great pedigree, and you know that if you were to go win that fight, your name will probably be top 15. That's going to lead to more bigger fights for yourself, bigger opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind as you're preparing through that camp, knowing what the potential outcome could be if that goes the way you want it to?
Well, me, I never get caught up on all the extra things. I just look at it as I take everything one day at a time, and I know
Okay.
I had to go in there and just win. That's the main thing my mind was on. I really wasn't worried about what come with it so much. It was just about going out and putting on a great performance and winning. And as long as I stay focused on that, I'm a dominate these fighters, and everything else will come.
It's not too shocking to hear because when I was talking to you a little bit now and we looked through some of your posts, the way you fight, there seems to be a certain mentality that you're always locked in. Like, it's not about all the extra stuff. I know some boxers like to go do the social media stuff, and there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But it seems like your mindset is, hey, I got a goal. That's the goal I'm going to accomplish. Whatever's in my way, I'm going to have to go through it. We're going to have to get out of my way. Would you say that's an accurate statement? Is that kind of how your mentality works?
Absolutely. I'm a very driven person, and once I put my mindset on something, it's nothing stopping me. I'm going to get it. And I don't let nothing sidetrack me at this point. I'm just staying focused 100% on the goal. And each fight, I look at it the same way. I got a job to do, and I stay 100% focused on that, and I'm going there and do it.
All right, so let's go into the details of the Shavkat fight because I said obviously that was a masterful performance. You had a game plan, you executed that game plan to perfection, and obviously the KO is what everyone's going to remember it as, and so on and so forth. But those that watch the fight know the details, the way you led up, the way you're beating him throughout the rounds, getting a knockdown earlier on. Walk us through just that fight as you're going through the midst of it, the confidence, the way you're growing, the way you adjusted, whatever it might be. Just break down the fight a little more in detail there.
With the fight, I just went out there. I stayed focused on what the game plan was, and that was to go out and use my jab. Um, Make sure I never let this guy get started, and I started early on this guy, working him up and down, working the body and the head. And
Hmm.
I knew I was a lot stronger than him, and I was the all around more skilled fighter. So with that being said, I just let my hands go, and everything played out right. And once I started to break him down, I went ahead and put the power on him and got him out of there.
Now, for those that are not aware, before that fight, you were coming off of a loss and also about a year off of being laid off, not fighting. Was that just walk us through that year? Because obviously you come off a loss, and in the boxing world today, well, I disagree with it. A lot of people say the loss is this damaging thing on people's resume, could do things at boxing or whatever. In my opinion, it's something that just you can learn from to get better. It's not that big of a deal. But that still was for yourself. You took a loss, you get almost a year off. There was a lot of pressure, at least from the outside looking in, on you for that fight. And you're also the underdog heading in there. What was that year off? Just kind of preparing, changing, developing. I don't know, whatever you did. What was that year off leading up to the fight like for yourself?
The main thing during that year off, I just focused on tweaking all the things I felt I need to get better. I stayed in the gym, so I was never out the gym, and I was ready when the phone call came.
Okay.
So with that being done, every day just focusing on getting better and better. When I did get the fight, I knew that I was prepared to come in there and do what I need to do to put on an excellent performance.
So was that old year off? Was that something kind of planned by yourself? Did you want at least some sort of amount of time off to kind of work on your game, fine tune it, or was that just because of the way the business works in boxing that you weren't able to get in the ring for almost a year?
But not necessarily, it was just the way the business worked. And I had a
Okay.
small injury dealing with my hands, and I just wanted to make sure when I came back, I was at 100%, and I'd be ready to go.
All right. So on your resume, you do have those two losses. And like I said, for me, I think the biggest thing is that if you learn from those losses, it's going to make you a better fighter down the road, anyways. And obviously, we've seen that so far come to fruition for yourself. From
Yeah.
those two losses in your careers, specifically each one individually, what would you say is the biggest thing you learned about yourself and you were able to grow in from those two losses?
Well, the main thing I learned that I'm unbreakable.
Mm.
No matter how what happens, I'm gonna keep going at the goal I got at hand. I don't call for spilled milk. I just keep going. I suck it up and keep moving. Even though I feel I won both of those fights.
You cut out the last part. You get cut off like right before, even though with both of those, and then it cut out.
No, I was saying that I never dwell on spoiled milk. I just
Mm.
keep going, and I knew that I couldn't be broken when it comes to the goals that I have set in life or in the sport of boxing. I ain't gonna let nothing deter me from that, a loss or not. I'm gonna go out and be better the next fight.
Absolutely, man. Well, there's something I want to touch up on. It goes back quite a couple years, now, I think 3 or 4 years. And there was a big fight you were going to be part of against Raleigh. And obviously, that situation came. You ended up missing weight by 5 pounds. And also, there was a medical issue, I believe. Can you take us through that fight? What all went down in that situation?
Well, with that fight, the fight was on short notice, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I always, like I said before, on interviews, I think I could have been more professional year round, make sure that I was close to the weight and I was ready to take full advantage of the opportunity that was at hand. But I couldn't make the weight. I wound up having some medical problems trying to kill myself to make the weight. But that's a fight that I still would love to have in the future.
And that's the reason I actually asked that question because that is a possibility now. You've got your name up on the resume, and obviously I know Raleigh always has a fight in a couple of weeks now coming up, so it wouldn't be in the next couple of weeks or whatever like that. But is that a fight that you see happening down the road, whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is? Do you see that fight possibly coming to fruition eventually?
Well, you never know in the sport of boxing. You
Fair
never know
enough.
what's going to happen with him after this fight, how that's going to go. But of course, I'm open to it, and I love to share the ring with him. He's established himself in the sport. He's been part of some big fights, so why not?
All right, so now let's look at what you could possibly have in store for you next. You last fought February 8th. Is there a timeline that you want to get back in the ring by?
Well, it's looking like I'll be back in the ring this coming June, and
Okay.
I'll be making an announcement on that real soon. And I look forward to going out and just putting on a great performance.
Are there some guy that you want to fight? Like, I don't know if the deal's already been worked out. Do you have your fighter locked down, I guess, by now already? Or is that something you're going to announce later on? Or is that still in the progress of who you're going to fight possibly?
Everything will be being announced very soon in the next coming weeks. But right now, I'm looking forward, and I'm in the top 15 in the world in two sections by the WBC and the WBO.
Yep.
So I want any guy with the names, all the big fighters. That's the fights I want to be a part of.
Is there a certain guy that you look at and you say you would want to fight, whether it be this next fight or it's down the road and by the end of this year, whatever it is? Is there someone that you target that you say, you know what, that's a guy I want to fight?
Well, I don't really look at it like that. I want to fight whoever at the top who got the belts. That's the guys I want to fight,
Fair
and it's
enough.
whoever got the belt when it's time for me to fight for it. It's not boxing is not personal to me. I got no personal vendetta against no fighter saying, "Oh, I just want to fight this guy because of this or that." God
Okay.
had done it to me personally, but I'm a competitor, so I want to fight the best fighters that's out there, and because I believe that I can beat them.
I like the mentality because I know a lot of guys do get caught up. And I said, I think a lot of it for most guys, there probably are some certain situation, but a lot of it is social media feud to build a fight up and whatnot. And that is what it is, the business side. I get it. But like you said, I respect that. I respect the fact that you say, you know what, I just want to go fight somebody because I have a goal. I want that championship belt one day. Was that always your mentality? Is that something you developed over time, or just take us to that mentality?
That's just who I am as a person. I'm a very serious guy, so I'm not gonna really do all the internet games back and forth and stuff.
Okay.
Um, I look at this. This is a business to me, so it's just about going out there and doing my job. It's nothing personal. But when it's time to step in the ring, I'm gonna come do what I'm supposed to do.
All right. So if you were to put a timeline for yourself and you look at possibly, the next year, 12 to 18 months, let's say, things can happen. Who knows what God's got in store for you? What do you see in store for your next 12 to 18 months? What do you want to accomplish? What do you see getting done? How many fights you want? What's that kind of timeline look like for yourself?
In the next 12 to 18 months, I plan on stepping in the ring to fight for the world championship and coming out with my hands raised as the new world champion.
Absolutely, man. Well, I got a couple more things before I let you go. And one of those things is I always like discussing your legacy because I think it's always the biggest thing. What do you want to be remembered for? And so when that day does come and you decide to step away from boxing, what do you want that legacy for yourself to be?
I love to be remembered as a guy who just went out and gave my all and showed that no matter how you start, it's all about how you finish. I want to inspire kids and just let them know that no matter where you're coming from, you can make it. You can change the path of your life and you can do something with yourself and turn negative things that you maybe have done, being a part of, into a positive.
So when you talk about now being that role model, being a reflection, I'm sure you already are that now in the world. What does that mean to you now that you now have a added kind of eye set upon you? You now have this chance to be a role model for guys, like little kids to say, hey, from your area, from growing up where you're from, can say, hey, I want to be like Justin. I want to be like a guy like him. What does that mean to you?
Of course, that means a lot to me. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. So at the same time, I got to always remain professional and lead by example.
Absolutely, man. Well, Justin, I appreciate taking time to come on today, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that announcement is. And can't wait to see what God's got next for you, got in store for your next fight, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, man. I truly appreciate being a part of the show. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Justin, you're always appreciated and always welcome on, man. God bless you, man.
Thank you. You too.
Appreciate everybody for tuning into that interview. I'll have that edited out and posted very shortly. With that, I'm going to go on a quick commercial break and then we'll get into the remaining of the show. See you guys shortly. From the moment I was born, a ball was in my hands and a deep passion for sports was ignited. My dream was to play the game for as long as possible, but God had other plans. After battling with severe illnesses caused by black mold poisoning for nearly 4 years, I made the difficult decision to let go of my on-court dreams heading into my junior year of high school. However, I was What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. And what I'm going to do now in this final portion of the show today is, well, for those of you that don't know, I know I've talked about almost every day this week, but we have a massive fight going down this weekend in Philadelphia. Boots Ennis, Stanionis, unification, 3 belts will be on the line Saturday night. And that's the card I want to get into now. We're going to do a little preview now leading up to it. Now, I'm not going to break down the entire card, but what I am going to do is go through some things that I'm going to be looking for this weekend. To start off the day, we're going to have Zaquin Moses. He's going to be fighting Alex Pallet. Now, listen, Moses should get the win quite easily here. We know he's one of the top up-and-coming prospects, the guy that a lot of people have their eyes on. It's not going to be a competitive, great fight to watch. But what I'm looking for is, how does Moses look now as he turns pro, as he continues to go in this record, as he fights his 3rd fight in his career? What improvements has he made? How does he look as he continues to build up his resume? So not a massive thing there, but just to see what he's looking like as he continues to progress. Obviously, still he's a very, very young, up-and-coming prospect. Then we're going to head into a fight that I am a little bit more excited about, and that's Amari Jones fighting William Jackson. Amari Jones, the only United States boxer to medal in this last year's Olympics, will be making his 2nd pro fight this weekend against, like I said, William Jackson. Now, once again, seeing the way he improves, I'm a big believer in Amari Jones. Now, it's too early to say, do I think he's going to be world champion, all those things? No, I'm not going to go there yet. But how does he look? How does he progress? I like what he's got. His skill set's obviously there. He's a talented boxer. He's a good fighter. He had a good performance in his first fight. But like I said, he's still building up his resume. What does he look like now in this fight? But here's really what I'm going to go into now, the main and co-main event. Co-main event, Raymond Ford makes his return against Thomas Matisse, and this will be a solid fight. Now, no belts are on the line. Although Ray Ford is a former world champion, this one is not, as it continues to move up weight classes now. Ray Ford is a guy that I'm a big believer in. I believe he will become a world champion once again one day. I believe that he's probably going to be one of the top, I don't want to say 2 items. I'm trying to think off the top of my mind who's all out there. When you talk about guys under 30, younger guys in boxing, he's got to be one of the top 5 to 10, maybe higher, boxers in America in that age group. Ray Ford is a spectacular fighter. He's a guy that I do truly believe in will become a problem. And if he gets settled at 130 now, I think that's going to be a good weight class for the time being. But listen, this will be a good fight. Matisse is 22-4-1. Ray Ford does have that L on his resume. However, it's against Nick Ball, a guy that's very, very good. And it was a very controversial win, to say the least, as well in that fight. So this is a fight that I'm going to look at. Because if Ray Ford gets a win here, there's no reason he won't be able to position himself for a world championship fight at 130. Whether that be, I know that we're going to have an interim belt, or there's a vacant belt now opened up at 130. I don't know if he's going to go for that belt or if it will be going down the route of fighting one of the current champions. We'll see how it all ends up unfolding there. But this should be a big fight that's going to put him in good position now. And then the main event. Jaron Boots Ennis, Eimantas Stanionis. 3 belts are on the line. This is going to be a good one, folks. When you talk about this fight, this is what Boots Ennis has always wanted, at least for a long time now. When we've been evaluating Boots Ennis, there's a lot of dispute. Hey, the Brian Norman fight could have come to fruition. No, we don't want Brian Norman. That's not a unification we're going to go pursue. Let's go to 154 possibly. Let's go fight Virgil Ortiz. No, that doesn't end up happening. He wants to unify with somebody, and obviously he doesn't want to unify with Brian Norman or whatever happened there with the financial situations. So he gets this fight, and it's a big fight. Don't get me wrong. Now, is it the fight that everybody wanted originally? Probably not, but I think those other fights will be coming now, so it's not a big deal in my opinion. Jaron Boots Ennis, Stanionis, going down this weekend. Stanionis is from Lithuania. He's also undefeated in his career right now. 33-0 is Boots Ennis. 15-0 is Stanionis. This should be a good chess match type of fight. Could there be a KO? Sure. Boots Ennis certainly has KO power, 27 KOs on his record, while Stanionis has decent KO power at 9 KOs on his resume. However, I would not be shocked to see this fight go to a decision. That's kind of my prediction right now. If I were to make an answer, my prediction would be Boots Ennis is going to win this fight by unanimous decision. However, this is still an enticing fight. But what I will say is, what I kind of backpedaling going on what I was talked about yesterday, I do believe this is the last time we're going to see Boots Ennis fighting at 147. It just doesn't make much sense. We see the way the weight cut's looking right now. We see all these things move to 154, the premier division of boxing, in my opinion, at this point in time. Big fights to be made. However, like I said, there is the big fight this weekend, though. Boots, Stanionis, Not going to want to miss. I'll make sure to break down the entire fight on Monday once it all comes down. But that is a fight to keep an eye on because it's going to be a massive fight. Unification, 3 belts on the line. Doesn't get much better than that. So that's what I got in store for you guys today. On the final show, the SchuZ Show for this week. This now wraps up the very first boxing week. I want to appreciate each and every single one of the guests that came on this week. It was a jam-packed week, lots of guests. I plan on filling up the guest sheet next week as well. I already got a lot of good guys booked for next week. So I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tuning in today. And I will see you guys on Sunday or on Monday. God bless you guys all. I'll talk to you guys later. SchuZ is out.